Review for Activity 3.4 and 3.5 quiz. Question 1. Read the excerpts from the book Night and the poem First They Came for the Communists. Night. Behind me, someone said cyan. What do you expect? That's war. The deportees were quickly forgotten. A few days after they left, it was rumoured that they were in Gaelica working, and even they were content with their fate. First they came for the communists. When the Nazis came for the communists, I remained silent. I was not a communist. When they locked up the Social Democrats, I remained silent. Which word best captures the theme of these excerpts? So let's have a look at the question. And you're looking for best, and you're looking for theme. Remembering that theme means message about life. The author of Night mentions that people were quickly forgotten. And the author from First They Came for the Communists mentions that he did not speak up for the communists because he wasn't a part of that group. This shows that people in both excerpts were not thinking about others, which demonstrates indifference. Question 2. How do the animals' behaviours in Terrible Things, an allegory of the Holocaust, develop the theme that it's dangerous to have feelings of superiority? Here's that same term again, theme. It means the message about life. They've given you the theme. They've said that it's dangerous to have feelings of superiority. Rather than figure out a way to stop terrible things from coming back, the remaining animals speak negatively about the animals that are taken away, which suggests they believe that they're superior to them. This allows them to believe that they will be safe from the terrible things. Remember in the graphic organizer, you had to identify how each creature reacted when the terrible things came for creatures. Little Rabbit began to question the terrible things to Big Rabbit. So when they took the creatures that sprout gills, Little Rabbit said the same thing might happen to them and perhaps that they should move. But Big Rabbit disagreed. He thought white rabbits were important and that they would never be removed by the terrible things. And this supports the idea that he thinks he is superior, better than the other creatures who have all been taken away. B is the correct answer. Question 3. Read the text excerpt from a dramatic reading of Terrible Things, an allegory of the Holocaust. Now, there were no birds to sing, no squirrels to chatter, no frogs to croak, no fish to play in the forest pool. A nervous silence filled the clearing. What is the speaker trying to convey through the use of pauses, emphasis, and tone? Go back and look at how this is supposed to be read. It begins with a disappointed tone. There's a pause after now. Every no is emphasized. There are other pauses as well. The speaker is trying to convey that there is a somber mood and an uneasiness felt by the animals remaining in the forest. The use of pauses show that although the forest is quiet, the animals are very sad and nervous because the terrible things might come back at any moment. Question 4. Read the poem First They Came for the Communists. Which paragraph from Night best reflects the theme from the poem First They Came from the Communists, that ignoring the flight of others can have dangerous results? So again, you're looking at theme, so the message about life, and they've given you the message down here. And the message is, ignoring the flight of others can have dangerous results. You're comparing the two texts. So you're looking at First They Came for the Communists, and now you have to compare similarities with Night. I wanted to return to Saget to describe to you my death so that you might ready yourselves while there is still time. Life? I no longer care to live. I am alone. But I wanted to come back and warn you. Only no one is listening to me. His goal is to warn people. However, no one is listening. Which connects back to the idea that people are ignoring him. By sharing his experience, Moshe explains why it was of such importance for him to make it back to warn other Jews in his town so that they might heed his warning and avoid similar disastrous results. Question 5. Read the excerpts from Night and Terrible Things, an allegory of the Holocaust. From Night. Moshe was not the same. The joy in his eyes were gone. He no longer sang. He no longer mentioned either God or the Kabbalah. He spoke only of what he had seen, but people not only refused to believe his tales, they refused to listen. Some even insinuated that he only wanted their pity and that he was imagining things. Others flatly said that he had gone mad. From Terrible Things, an allegory of the Holocaust. Sadly, Little Rabbit left the clearing. He'd go tell other forest creatures about the terrible things. He hoped someone would listen. Moshe from Night and Little Rabbit from Terrible Things, an allegory of the Holocaust, are characters who want to heed their warnings. How do these characters contribute to the development of the major themes in these stories? So again, it's asking you to compare theme, so message about life, between this excerpt from Night and the excerpt from Terrible Things, an allegory of the Holocaust. They emphasize that people must work together to stop terrible things from happening. The characters Moshe and Little Rabbit show that heeding warnings of others can be an important part of preventing terrible events from occurring. Moshe only spoke of what he had seen. Little Rabbit only wanted to tell other forest creatures about the terrible things. He hoped someone would listen, which is the same hope that Moshe has. He's hoping that somebody would listen to him. Question 6. Read the poem First They Came for the Communist. Which of the following best describes the speaker? The answer is B, regretful, because he let others get arrested without speaking up for them. This is seen when he repeats, I remain silent. I did not speak out. I did not speak out. And there was no one left to speak out. Question 7. Read the poem First They Came for the Communists. This question has two parts. First answer part A and then answer part B. Part A, which of the following best describes the message of the poem? This question was taken directly from Common Lit, so you were already asked to do this question and you were provided with the correct answers and a video review of the explanation. So we already know that the correct answer is C. People should speak out when they see injustice, or they might risk experiencing it for themselves. If you think back to the previous answers of some of the questions, they all talk about this common theme, is that we have to speak out, we have to stand together. And again, question 8 is taken from Common Lit as well. So the correct answer for part B, which of the following best supports the answer to part A? The correct answer is D. When they came for me, there was no one left to speak out. This question was already reviewed in a past video, and you had the correct answers from that Common Lit assessment. 9. Read the poem First They Came from the Communists. What does the phrase, I was not, emphasize about the speaker? And again, this question was taken from Common Lit, so you already took this question on Common Lit, you had the correct answers, and there was a review that went over what the correct answers were. C. The speaker regrets not speaking out because he was not being targeted and ignored those who were. We've talked about regrets before, that he felt regretful. In previous questions, we've looked at the theme and the idea of ignoring those that are being targeted. We see it in Night as well. and then again in Terrible Things. Question 10. Read the excerpts from Night. Crammed into cattle cars by the Hungarian police, they cried silently. Standing on the platform, we too were crying. The train disappeared over the horizon, and all that was left was thick, dirty smoke. What feelings and ideas does the author most likely hope to invoke in the reader by using the pronouns they and we in paragraph 2 of the excerpt? This question directly connects back to second read text-dependent questions. Question 1 for Night asks you to identify the two pronouns. So we know that those pronouns invoked a feeling of separation among the Jews. There was a review video posted that clarified what was the intended effect of using these two pronouns. Question 11. What is the most likely reason the author includes infants were tossed into the air and used as targets for machine guns? This looks at question 2 for your text-dependent questions. We clarified that the author included this line to convey the horrible but dispassionate violence of the Nazis. B is correct. Question 12. In Night, why did the Jews of Saget refuse to believe what Moshe was describing upon his return? Again, this goes back to the second read text-dependent questions from Night, and we had discussed that the Jews of Saget were unable to believe the depth of cruelty that was described. There's a direct connection back to the previous question. So question 11 looks at infants were tossed in the air and used as target practice for machine guns. In the review video, we discussed how horrific this would be, and if this were to occur now, we wouldn't probably believe that either. Question 13. Based on the details in the text Night, what can the reader infer from the last line in the memoir excerpt? And so we, the Jews of Saget, waited for better days that surely were to come. The correct answer is B. One can infer that the Nazis will return and take the rest of the Jews in Saget. This idea was discussed in the review video, where we identified that these events took place in 1942, and we know that the war ended in 1945. Remember, thinking back to about the author, we know that Elie Wiesel and his family were in concentration camps. Question 14. How does each text structure contribute to its meaning and style? This question goes back to the Check Your Understanding from Activity 3.4 when you were asked to compare the structure of Night and the structure of the poem First They Came for the Communists. The correct answer is B. The memoir provides descriptions of awful things that happened, and the poem uses repetition and short sentences to evoke emotions and deliver a message. We've discussed repetition in the poem several times. We've also talked about the descriptions of the awful things that happened in Night. Question 15. Big Rabbit from Terrible Things, an allegory of the Holocaust, and the voice heard within the poem are characters that represent D. Individuals who would look the other way when people were taken by bystanders. We can see this idea about Big Rabbit from Terrible Things, an allegory of the Holocaust, when you did the graphic organizers that asked you to identify each component of the text and what it stood for, what it symbolized or represented. We've also talked consistently about the voice within the poem and how he didn't do anything when the Nazis came for the different groups of people.